Good evening. We are from Depstar, Charusat. We are the student of Computer Engineering 4th sem. My name is Prince Mawalya. My ID number is 22DC057.
My name is Rutvik Lakhani. My ID number is 22DC046.
My name is Gaurav Mangukya. My ID number is 22DCE050.
Hello guys, my name is Jay Mehta and my ID number is 22DC052.
Hello guys, my name is Khelan. My ID number is 22DC051. Today we have Hermes Lakhani with us to answer our question. Sir, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. So my name is Harmish and currently I'm working in Amazon as a software developer. I did my BTech from Nirma University in 2012, and I have more than 10 years of experience in IT industry, and I have worked for various startups and uh, some big companies like Intel, Ola Cabs, McAfee, Make My Trip, Amazon. Yeah. And in my experience, most of the time I have worked for backends, but I have certain exposure to front end as well. So yeah, happy to answer whatever questions you guys have, and let's discuss.
Sir, my first question is, what is software engineering according to you?
So software engineering is basically, first of all, engineering is right? It's like build some mechanisms, solve some customer problems with whatever tools that you have. Now, this is software engineering. So basically, we are trying to solve the customer's problem with the help of software. So for example, if you take an example of say ride sharing application like Uber or Ola. So what type of customer problems they are solving? Is it like if you want to travel from point A to point B, you can open their app and book taxi and pay the money and then go, right? Now behind the scenes, if you see, there can be multiple softwares that has been built by those companies, and that will work internally to basically give you the experience. So now in order to build that software, we need certain mechanisms, which is first of all, understand what is the problem statement. Start from that point onwards. And then you basically, build, I would say, convert the requirement from user perspective to how computer understands it. Like you break down that problem statement and create multiple microsoftwares, I would say, which will talk to each other and then at the end provide the experience to the user. Now it is not just building that, but we have to maintain that also. So maybe in the software engineering subject, we have so many things like understand the problem statement, convert it into your high level design. Then comes an implementation where you will go ahead and implement that. And at the end, you will do certain type of testing like unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testings, and whatnot. And at the end, once testing is done, you think that, okay, this software will work in the production environment, is when you go ahead and release that software where the actual users will use that. So all these steps are nothing but if you combine it, it becomes a software engineering. And it's like I explained it in a very high level, I would say. But if you pick each of those uh, components or basically tasks, right, then there is so much depth that is needed. Like if you take say testing as an example of one component or one part of the software engineering, then in testing also you can find a couple of things like your unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testings, and whatnot, performance testing, load testing, and each of these also has certain depth. So overall, I think this is what is software engineering according to me. But again, yeah.
Sir, in your current job, in which department you are work and what is your role in this department?
Yeah, so I am part of a retail org in Amazon. So retail is basically where you order certain things from the Amazon website or Amazon mobile application. Now, retail is again a big org. There are I would say, thousands of employees are working under retail. So inside retail, I am part of a organization known as private brands. So like Amazon has their own brand, like Samsung is a brand of mobile. Apple is a brand of mobile, right? Similar to that, Amazon has certain brands in certain areas, which is like they owned it. So that's why it is called a private brands. So I am part of the private brands organization inside retail. And my role is, as I said, I am a software developer. So it includes everything, like understand the, again, like I'm tying back to the same thing, the software engineering, which you asked as a first question. So like my role is to understand the customer requirements, design and low level design, then work with junior engineers to implement that. At the end, we will do all the testing. We will showcase it to our product manager saying that this is how we build as per the requirement, whether it is matching the requirement or not. If not, then again, we need to do certain bug fixes. At the end, we will release it. So all this, I would say, the pillars or components of the software engineering is what my day-to-day job, uh, you know,
Okay,
to
okay,
involve
sir.
in each of these phases and do that. So yeah.
Okay, sir. Next question is about how often you and your team's member use software engineering principle in your daily tasks and how it is useful.
So yes, it is again tying back to the question number one. Like we are using it in our day-to-day life, which is like every day, and it helps us. So I'm like, if you see the modern software engineering, there are a couple of things. There are something known as agile methodology, which is like, I don't know whether it is coming as part of your curriculum, like agile methodologies, this waterfall model, all these things are coming
Yes,
in
sir.
your curriculum.
Currently, we are studying it.
Same thing, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so that waterfall. So I'm like, again, it will be all the things like understand the user requirement, implement it, test it, and release it. Okay, but at which frequency you do this is changing. So in waterfall model, basically we go from one step to other unless and until we are not done with that step, we will not move to the next step. That is a waterfall model. But nowadays, if you ask me in the industry overall, like after 2 years, whenever you will join the certain companies, you will also get to know it. Most of the companies in the world are currently using agile methodologies, which is like in software I'm talking about. If you go to a different industry, for example hardware industry or say aeronauticals, there it will be still a waterfall model because they can't build the aeroplanes within 15 days, right? There it's like 5 years or 10 years and whatnot. So their waterfall model makes sense. But in software engineering nowadays, with the changing uh, technologies, right, it is like if you release it faster, it will be better. So for me, or basically even for Amazon and for other companies in the world, I would say we are using the agile methodology, which is like follow the same process, understand the user requirement, design it like high level, low level, implement it, test it out, and release it. But we are doing it in a small chunks, which is like every 15 days we do the releases. Like we are
Yes.
building the small features and release it quickly and giving it to the user instead of waiting for 6 months or 1 year. We are like doing it constantly, I would say. So uh, to answer your question, yes, we are using it in our day-to-day life.
Yes. Next question is what steps do you take to ensure that the software system is scalable and able to handle the increasable load over time?
Okay, so first thing is whenever it comes to scalability, we need to make sure that we have the load testing in place. So again, the bigger pillar is testing. Inside that, we have something known as load testing or performance testing, which is like how performant your system is. Like let's say right now, say 100K, like 1 lakh users are using again the same ride sharing application, right? Let's say tomorrow if the user traffic becomes double, which is 200K, 400K, 800K, then 1 million plus. So then how your system will scale? So basically, in order to tackle that problem, we have a performance testing step in our overall engineering, software engineering practice. So we do load test our systems and we know what is the capacity of these systems. And then because we know that what is the capacity of those systems, whenever the traffic increases, like it is not that over the night traffic will increase. Basically, you will have some forecasting mechanisms, mostly nowadays in every company, where they will forecast what will be. So for example, for in case of Amazon forecast how many number of orders will be there on the prime day. Accordingly, we have to make sure that our system has auto scaling. in place. Same for like if there are Diwali or some other festivals in India, then Amazon India website will make sure that it has enough load or enough capacity to handle that load. So basically, to answer your question in one line, it will be performance test. Performance testing is what we are doing to uh, handle the load. And
Okay,
one more
okay.
thing, whenever we are designing that, we are also considering the performance as one of the important uh, parameters whenever we are reviewing the designs and writing the design documents, like how your system will react to uh, increasing load. So
Okay,
we have
okay,
to
sir.
design the systems, keep in mind that it should handle 10x traffic if let's say we have to do it one day. So yeah.
Now I take over to my friends Ritwik Lakhani to continue.
No, sir. My first question is, how does documentation impact the success of software project in your industry?
So like I have 10 years of experience, but I would say I have worked for 6 to 7 companies. But in Amazon, I have found out that the documentation is the best as per my experience. Because we like we do have these processes as again part of software engineering, which is like once you are done with one part, which is like say requirement analysis, then document everything in any format. Like you guys are using Microsoft Word, so document, write the details there. If some other company is using some other form of like say Google Docs, then go ahead and write your design decisions, everything there. Again, when we move to the next step, which is design, we are encouraged to write everything, like write your design with pro and cons in the document. So basically, writing is the number one thing in Amazon, and that is I have seen, like in order to, I would say, make your software great or successful, write as much documentation as you can, because there is not a single contributor in writing one software, right? There are hundreds of engineers who are writing the
Yes.
code every day. So if you write the documents, it will help the new engineers to understand the systems quickly, uh, so that they can start contributing, I would say, early. And that way you can release the features continuously. So documentation, I would say, is helping to keep your software up to date as well as maintainable and whatnot.
Sir, may I ask you
My
something?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So, sir, first of all, it is very nice to meet you. I
Thank
am
you.
overwhelmed with even talking with you. Sir, you just mentioned about documentation in Amazon, right?
Yes.
Sir, how AI will help you in this field? I I I think that you might take help from AI and your teammate also. It is useful to use AI as your uh, tool for
Yes.
preparing documentation.
Yeah. So I'm like today morning I was discussing with my manager. So AI, right? Like ChatGPT, for example, is a tool.
Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes.
mean, like someone has to give some commands to the tool. Then
Okay,
only the
okay.
tool will give you some answers, right? So yes,
Mm-hmm.
you can take help of a tool to write code, to write integration test, to write unit test, to write documents and whatnot. But you need to ask the proper question to the tool, the problems that you are facing. If you do that
Okay,
rightful, then I think you will get uh, most out of it, and then definitely you can use that. But the key,
okay, okay.
the key message here is to write the right, is to ask the right set of questions from the tool, whatever the AI tool that you are using. There is no, I'm like
Okay,
nothing
okay.
wrong in using AI tool to write the documents, but ask the right
Mm-hmm.
set of questions and then write the document as per the requirement. I'm like whatever for, like for example, let's say
Mm-hmm.
you are writing your resume, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can't ask ChatGPT saying that can you write a document of biodata, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask a relevant questions to the tool, then the tool will give you some answers, and then you can use that to
Mm-hmm.
frame your document or code or whatever.
Okay, okay. Understood. Ritik, may you may take over.
You are on mute if you are talking, Rutvik.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
How does your company ensure client satisfaction through its work?
Okay. So for client satisfaction, again, it will be, I'll tie back to the number three, the question that agile methodology. So as I said, right, like
Yeah.
nowadays, all the companies are using agile, which is like every 15 days or every 1 week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks is when we releases those features. So to satisfy the client requirement, basically, we will build the minimum features first. We'll showcase to the user saying that this is the first version of it, not again the full requirement, but a first version of your ask. And then they said, okay, this is looking good. Then we will again build another iteration or another phase of that particular same feature. And then slowly we will every 15 days or every n number of days is when we will release and we'll showcase it to the user, so that it solves two questions. One is that if client has any questions like no, this is not as per the requirement, then immediately we will get a flag saying that okay, there is some issue at the first step of software engineering, which is like translate the user requirement to the uh, software engineering or whatever design or whatever you call it out. And let's say if client is satisfied with that, then you can deliver the partial solution to the user. They will start using it. And if they have any feedback saying that okay, uh, we are loving this product, but now we want to change our requirement based on the changing needs of the world, right? Then also like it will help you, like you build a half solution, but remaining half client wants something else. Maybe they want to enhance certain features and whatnot. So that is how we are maintaining our client satisfaction, which is roll out the softwares faster and get feedback from them.
Now, my friend Helen will take over.
You are on mute, Kellan.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
What measure does your company that ensure that the software you make is safe from hacker or unauthorized accesses?
Okay, so basically, like again, I'll generalize the solution here because it is not only to Amazon, but it is like to every company. Um,
Yes.
Nowadays, or not even nowadays, but it is from starting. So each company has certain security mechanisms built to protect their softwares, their customers' data, and whatnot. So um, whenever we are designing any system or service or feature, right? Like the second step in the software engineering, which is like design your, like translate the user requirement into the software, which is like you will write the high level design and low level design. So as part of the design, we have one of the important step, which is to do the security review, which is like whatever the uh, for example service that you are writing. For example, let's take a simple example of the ride sharing app. Let's say you are creating a new Android application. So we will go through a security review saying that whether this application is uh, safe from all the attacks. Now, those attacks are, you might have heard a very simple DDoS attack, which is like denial of service, which is like if you're, I'm like, again, it's one type of attack, but you can read in internet. There are hundreds of types of attacks which nowadays hackers can do on your software. So we need to make sure that uh, your application, if you're writing a front end app, your website, if you're writing a web app, your backend, if you're writing, yeah. So basically, for that, yeah, security review is must, I would say, in the design phase. And we make sure that all the new softwares that you write, whether it is application, website, or backend, it goes through all the processes that has been set by the security experts, which is like how can we avoid those security attacks. That is first thing. Second thing is how can we make sure that our customers data is secure. So I can give you quick 2 3 examples. Whatever the data that we store in our databases, it will be encrypted always. Whatever the data that is traveled from one software to other software internal to our network is also encrypted. And whatever is going over the internet, right, which is like if it is a secure, I'm like if it is a private data, uh, Then also we need to make sure that that should be encrypted, and uh, all the safety mechanisms has been built around that, so that no attackers can attack and steal that that data. So yep.
So if your company is released some software, then how will you check that it's work as expected?
So basically, again, two things here. One is that generally every company has something known as product managers. So these are the people who are like
Yes.
a bridge between user requirement and your engineering. So product manager first of all checks whether the software is as per the requirement. That is the first thing. And second thing is that we, like for example, if it's a website or mobile application, right, then we get mocks basically. Like the screen should look like this one. A very simple example is button should be of red color, for example, if that is the requirement. Then we write the
Yes.
integration tests, uh, saying that whenever this application loads or this page loads, the color of the button should be red. If it is green, then we will fail the integration test because it is not as per the user requirement. So these are the very two basic examples that most of the companies use to make sure that your software is as per the client requirement. But in reality, to check everything, it is even much more than what two examples that I have given to you. But that is how basically we make sure that it is as per the user's requirement.
Okay. How, what way does your company use for team member to work together efficient on this software? Hmm.
So Amazon, if you guys go in, I'm like search in the Google, but Amazon has certain philosophies, which is like we are using something known as two pizza teams, which is like if you order two pizzas, then the two pizzas, like how many folks can eat? Roughly 12. So keep your team size not more than 12, so that you can focus on a very specific feature and you can deliver it. If the team size grows, right, then it will be like so many folks have to talk to, I'm like, have to collaborate to build that software. But if your team size is little uh, less, then you can work on the dedicated features and then you can do it faster. So Amazon has this philosophy, which is like we keep our team size, uh, and the term is two pizza team, which is like around 10 to 12 people in each team.
Sir, one question.
As we
What
know,
is,
there are
let me interrupt one question.
yes.
Sir, what is the deadline role in your teamwork? How it is important to complete work in before deadline?
Your voice is like, I don't know, maybe some network issue. Can you come again? Can you come repeat that question for me?
Sir, what is your role of deadline and how it is important to complete the work before the deadline?
Okay, deadline. The role, yeah. So the deadline is like the role of deadline is important, I would say, because customer is waiting for that feature. Uh, but it is like that because of this frequent releases, right? You might be having certain bugs, and maybe you have dependent on some other team, for example. And if they have certain issues, and if they are not able to deliver certain features to you on time, then definitely you will also get affected. So the deadline, I would say, the role is very important, but it depends on like how big your software is and how many dependencies that software has. It depends on that. But again, ideally, it is like yes, we have to deliver that software by the deadline as per the customer's requirement, and sometimes it takes like you to, for example, if you really have a blocker like certain software, some other teams who on whom like you are dependent on, if they are not able to provide you those implementation or those features because they also have certain issues, then you have to soften your deadlines basically, and then there you can cut down certain features and ask clients saying that because of this deadline basically we will not be able to deliver the full software, but the basic version of that is available to use, and here it is, something like that. So you have to make certain balances between the feature and the dates both.
Okay, okay, sir.
Sir, as we
How do
know,
you satisfy? So sir, how do you satisfy your client then if you have deadline issue?
That is what I mean, like it has to be balance, which is like, I mean, like, if you really have those blockers, definitely you can work with your dependent teams, ask them like, if they need help from some of your team members, go ahead and do that, but deliver that quickly so that you can get unblocked. So it is like there are so many things here, which is like, so in Amazon there is a concept of away team work. Away team work means the software that you don't own, but still you go ahead and do the changes. Why? Because you need certain features on that to satisfy your client. So these are the kind of things that you can do to meet the deadline.
sir, as we know, there are many versions of software. How does your company manage different version of software and changes made to it over time?
This is again a broad topic, but have you guys know about Git version
Yes.
control? So it is nothing but a different version of software, but at a very minor level, at a very detailed level. Each line of your code change will be as part of one commit, and that way you can slowly build a different versions over it, right? Software is also like that. Same example, you guys are using Windows.
Yes, yes.
So you have Windows 10. I don't know what is the current Windows version, 11 or something, right?
11, 11.
So it is like again, so at each stage you will have some kind of versioning, and to maintain that there are so many techniques available, uh, which is like you can use versioning at each and every layer. Yeah, like your Android application can have multiple versions. We have this v0.123.456, and for example, say YouTube as an application, right? If you see, you will find some number which is like the application number or build number, and after a month or so, YouTube or maybe all the mobile applications, and same for backend applications as well as websites also, they'll release the new versions often, and each will have certain number. So for example, let's say very simple example, YouTube v1 version 1, they released it, we have used it for 6 months, but there are some bug, for example. Then they will release an enhanced version, they'll say v1.1. Now it will have some fixes, or some performance improvements and whatnot. When they want to change the user experience completely, like YouTube has a red icon, let's say they want to change it to green icon, and their search is coming on top, but they want to put it on side, or I'm like, if their user experience is changing completely, then definitely they will provide a new version number altogether, say v2.0, like that, right? So it is like you'll use version number and then release your features and ask clients to move to the new version which has the latest functionality, something like that.
Now, my friend asked some questions. Jai, please continue.
Okay, sir. So I will start with standards, right? Your company will have very good and high standards like CMM and ISO. So how it is really required for a company like yours to have a standard like IMM and CMM? And can you please explain what is ISO and CMM for reference?
uh, CMM, I don't know. ISO is like International Standards Organization, if I'm not wrong. So it is like
Yes, sir.
it's like a guidelines basically, or a set of rules that you have to follow to ensure that certain standards are there uh, for any products. Now, for software engineers or for software companies, the product is nothing but a software. So
Yes.
again, it is like, I don't know the exact definition or rules basically, but I'll tell you what Amazon does. So yeah, Amazon also,
Yes,
like,
sir.
for certain things it might be using ISO. I'm not sure, I'm not that much expert in those areas basically, but at least for the coding perspective, if you see, you might have heard about this open source thing, which is like, say, Linux is an open source,
Right.
right? So it
Right.
has
Right.
certain MIT license attached to it, or some other open source license attached to it, right? So Amazon is
Hmm.
also making sure that whatever the softwares that we built, which Amazon built, and which is like an open source, will have those kind of licenses available over the public repositories where the software code resides. And then there
Yes.
are certain softwares which are private to Amazon, which we call it as a proprietary, which is like this is the owner, like Amazon is the owner of those
Mm-hmm.
softwares. And for those we
Mm-hmm.
can't make that particular code as a public. So for that also it
Mm-hmm.
has certain type of licenses and
Okay.
standards. And even
Okay.
it
Okay.
is like no other company in the world use that because it is private to Amazon. If they use, then there will be
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
certain things that Amazon will take against those companies. So it is like that.
Okay. Okay. So, sir,
Other
do
thing
you?
related to the Mhm, go ahead.
No, no, please, sir, continue.
So other thing that you said is standards, right? So these are basically from the security perspective, but other than that,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon has couple of other standards, which is again related to the quality, like the code quality should be there, the documentation should be there. So all again, I am tying back to the software engineering because this is the
Mm-hmm.
main topic
Mm-hmm.
that you guys are discussing. So
Mm-hmm.
we have certain standards for each of these pillars: designing, defining the user
Mm-hmm.
requirements, testing, release,
Mm-hmm.
everything. So every pillar has certain standards, and inside that we
Mm-hmm.
will go in a tree-like fashion, and then
Mm-hmm.
that particular part has to follow certain standards, which has
Mm-hmm.
been set by Amazon. So it is like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, sir, do you feel any kind of do you face any kind of problem from these standard things, like you and your team have some problem to build your project and publicize it? Do you have in any time in past, do you feel any kind of that pressure, standard pressure?
It's not again a pressure, but it is like because you are chasing certain deadline. That is why you might be feeling it as a pressure. But again, I'll
Okay.
tweak a question little here. I think you might you the question that you wanted to ask is, if you follow these standards, is there any impact of that
Mhm.
in your day-to-day life? That is, I
Right,
think, what
right,
you are.
right, sir. Right. Yes, yes, sir.
So yes, it does. And again, it will be tying back to some question someone asked, like what if you miss the deadline or something like that, or how you
Mhm.
satisfy your client, right? So all these things are tying back to that. So for example, let's say we have a customer issue. Very
Mhm.
basic example: customer is not able to create an order or is not able
Mhm.
to buy something from Amazon website, and
Mhm.
say you want to fix that bug. uh,
Mhm.
in order to fix that bug, for example, you cannot bypass the
Mhm.
security review, because if you
Mhm.
consider the security review as one of the standard that has been set by Amazon, which you have to follow.
Mhm.
If you
Mhm.
don't follow that, in order to solve this issue earlier, right, because
Mhm.
customers are not able to buy anything, it means like
Mhm.
no one is able to order OnePlus phone, for example, on the midnight of
Right.
Diwali. Then you
Yes,
can't
sir.
just bypass your security process and just go ahead and fix that bug. Why? Because let's say if you
Mhm.
bypass that, you are able to fix that bug, but because of that, if there is some security issue where like
Mhm.
users transaction, like your money which you are paying during your order, is going to some different account, for example, a
Mhm.
very vague example I just built out of the air, but
Mhm.
if what if that happens? So definitely you can't bypass the security related standards for sure. But
Mhm.
there are certain standards. For example, your code should look like readable, maintainable. Like you are
Mhm.
learning about these interfaces, encapsulation, all those things, right?
Mhm.
So for example, if you are not
Mhm.
following the proper coding guidelines, for example, to fix that issue, uh, that is
Mhm.
again not recommended, but still you can do it in order to solve that issue, and then you can come back and refactor
Mhm.
this code later. So it is based on the use case, I would say,
Mhm.
or the problem at hand. uh, you know, depending
Mhm.
on that, you have to take the you have to take the decisions. And yes, in my experience, I might not might but I have done couple of things, which is like ignore certain
Mhm.
standards because customer problem is more important, and follow certain standards no
Mhm.
matter whatever the customer problem is there, because that standard is
Mhm.
important. So it is like a balance.
Mhm. Mhm. So, sir, for the you mentioned customer, right? So, for the customer, how do you reduce the complexity of this type of protocols? because we are software engineers, and we are not, you are software engineer, and you face this type of problems. So how you reduce the complexity for your clients?
So it is again a simple thing, like we first analyze what is the customer problem and why this standard is creating resistance
Mm-hmm.
on delivering that software
Mm-hmm.
quickly, right?
Yeah.
So then basically it might happen that you have to revise your standards based on the new problems that you are facing every day, or you might have to incorporate a new standards altogether because of certain new uh, security attacks, for
Mm-hmm.
example, in the world.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
it is like an iteration or an evolving thing, which is like
Mm-hmm.
not a one-stop solution. It will keep on evolving. Those standards will
Mm-hmm.
keep on evolving as and when you are seeing the new type of customer
Mm-hmm.
issues. It is not that like we decided these 10 rules, we'll
Oh.
follow that no matter what. It is not like that. So this list of 10 will keep on changing. Sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
becomes 5, sometimes it becomes 50, sometimes it becomes 100 and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So it is like that.
Okay. Okay, sir. And sir, now I will give chance for my
So, sir,
chance to ask question from sir to my friend Gaurav.
what programming languages are you most skilled in, and how do you choose which language to use for a project?
Amazon is using Java for most of their backend, I would say. For front end, it is React. But like Amazon has, I don't know, so many softwares. So we are using C, C++, Golang, Python, JavaScript, React, Native, Node.js, whatever you can imagine. Amazon is using everything because there are hundreds of softwares. That is why. To answer your second question, how do you decide? So again, it depends on the use case. So for example, if you're building a website, definitely you will need HTML, CS, and JavaScript. But like in JavaScript, which framework you are using? So nowadays, like React is more, I would say, uh, it has more features, which is like you can build proper UX, user experience, and make your page lighter and whatnot. There are so many things. So again, if you see from that, it is like what is the use case that we have in the hand? Use case in the sense which software or what type of software we want to build, and what languages we have, and then we choose. So for backend, mostly we use Java, but in backend also there are so many options. So for example, if we want to build an application where we need to handle a lot of traffic or a lot of transactions, where we need some parallelisms and whatnot, then maybe there are some other languages other than the Java. For example, Golang, which is like if you have some parallelism, like number of threads and whatnot, which you might be learning in your operating system or some other subject. So if we need to do those parallelism things, I think we use Golang. Otherwise, the standard is Java, which is like a mature language, and Amazon has built so many internal tools around that. So that is the first choice most of the time, I would say. So yeah.
Okay, sir. How do you, sir, sorry, have you ever lead a software project, sir?
Yes, so many.
How did you manage tasks, timelines, and team members?
So it is again that same thing, software engineering. First, I'll talk to product manager. I'll read the design document. I'll read the problem statement. So we are calling it as a BRD, business review document or business requirement document. My bad, business requirement document. So I'll read what is the functionality, for example, and then I will ask questions if there is any functionality which is not clear to me. Like I need to know what they want to build. If I don't know like what they want to build, then I can't build it, right? So for example, for that I basically understand the requirements properly, thoroughly, and then I'll go ahead and basically write a high level design for that problem statement or for that requirement. And once I'll write the design document, I'll basically discuss with other senior engineers in our organization. Like this is the problem statement, this is the design that I have came up with, let's review it together. So we review and we do the brainstorming, like why you use Java, for example, why not Golang, a very vague example, but still. uh, and then once we do the brainstorming and everyone comes on the same page, which is like, okay, this design is finalized to build this requirement, is when I'll go ahead and create a low level designs, which is like, so again, there is a difference between high level design and low level design, which I think once you guys will read it, you will get to know it. But it is like which language to use, how many softwares to create, how many services to create, all those decisions comes and which technologies to use, all those decisions comes under high level design. But once you decide that, okay, which language to use, then basically what type of APIs to write, what type of pages to build, those things comes under a low level design. So I'll basically create tasks for low level designs. Then I will work with a couple of other junior engineers in my team to go ahead and implement those low level designs. I will also pick certain low level designs and implementation of that. And then once we are done with all this, we will integrate all those micro softwares to test the full big software. And then which basically, I'll make sure that we test everything, and then we do the user acceptance testing, which is I'll go to PM saying that this is what we built. I'll showcase them like this is the button. If you click on that, this page will open up. If you submit this form, this value will be saved to the database. Things like that. Once product manager says that okay, we are good for this one, then I'll go ahead and release that. So this is the process that we follow at a very high level.
And sir, are you that means is any difficulty to stay updated with technologies?
Yes, it is because you have to work as well as like if new things are coming, you have to try and incorporate into your day-to-day life. So it is like, yep, little difficult to again the timeline thing. If you ask me, right, if I have a very tight deadline, I can't go ahead and learn how ChatGPT works, right? Because there is a customer problem, so I
Yes,
have to
yes.
first solve that. Then this thing. So it is like, yes, it is little difficult to achieve, but yep, I mean like you have to keep a balance.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Now my friend Rutvik get it.
So, sir, please give some feedbacks to us and your advice for us.
In terms of feedback, yep, like these are the very good questions that you guys have prepared. So thanks for that. And like you have 2 years, right, to complete your engineering. So
Yes, yes.
I would say try the. I mean, like again, I don't know like in which direction I should give advice. But it's a very bright field, I would say, the software engineering. Like if you love programming, if you love coding, this is the field. So try new things, learn your subjects properly because everything is needed. Like if you are thinking that networking in that subject, right? What is TCP? What is HTTP? Where I will be using it? You will be using it every day. So it is not that whatever is being taught in the colleges is waste. It is not like that. You need it, but because you are not using it right now, you don't feel that why I am learning this. But if you ask me now, even after 10 years of my engineering, I'm still thinking that I should have put some, or I should have paid a proper attention when my professor was teaching me TCP and TCP IP protocol and HTTP protocol. So I would say right now you don't have the pressure to, or not pressure, I would say, but a work to deliver to the actual customers because you are studying, you are not doing a job, right, where you have proper responsibilities. Go ahead and learn as much as possible because once you start the work, right, then you will get a very less time to learn new things. So this is the time. So these 2 years, right, the next 2 years, you have 24 by 7. Like you don't have any responsibilities to, like I have my 4-year kid, so I have to take care of him. I have family. So like I have to provide a couple of hours daily there also. Otherwise, I also want to learn how ChatGPT works. What is LLM? What is AI? Again, what is TCP? If someone asks me, I'll still go ahead and learn that. Your data structure algorithms and whatnot. So next 2 years, I would say learn as much as possible, and then you all will have a bright future. So best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir,
you,
for
sir.
your
And yeah,
time.
don't call me sir. I'm like I forgot to ask, but because we started, so I haven't interrupted you guys. But like in IT industry, you will learn after 2 years when you join the companies, right? There is no culture of sir in the IT industry. You have to call everyone by their first name, no matter how he big big in the sense like in the corporate ladder, even if it is at a top. So for example, Jeff Bezos is the Amazon's founder, right? And he is like a, right now he's not a CEO, but still if I am like meeting him, I'll not call him a sir, I'll just call Jeff, how are you, something like that. So but again, like I understand you are in college, so there we have to call sir, because you can't call your professor saying that hi, how are you. There we have to keep the respect because we are learning, right? It is like a institute.
Yes.
But in the corporate it is not like that, so you will see a different culture altogether. but but yeah, I would say go and learn as much as possible, and then we'll see you probably after 2 years during the interview time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool then,
Thank
chalo,
you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.